Dead yet alive. I wonder how. A part yet in my veins unless I die. Screams, wails, and my heart would cry.
Like a bird
Oh,
on
my
a
dead
tree.
star, where you are. Shall I tell you how pretty you
I'm
are?
just sitting
A hollow
here.
icon, a grief and sigh, cheated by love
I
or
got
ditched by life.
time.
Not of body nor of the
It's
mind,
clear to
an
see
imagination, an exaggeration, and true bliss,
from
an
up
intoxication. Colors of joy wearing a
here. The
muzzle,
world seems
endeavor of
small.
solving an eternal puzzle. In
We
the
can
skies, far
sit
away you are, yet I see you
together.
inside my own.
It's
Not
so
too long, but
beautiful.
not the moon.
You
Oh,
and
my
me,
love, ask that darkness how.
we're
I dare
meant
to
to
breathe
be.
alone, left over your shine, know where you
Great
are.
outdoors,
My Julie is like a dead star.
forever free.
Through the open window, the air steeped outdoors passed into his room, quietly enveloping him, stealing into his very thought. Esperanza, Julia, the sorry mess he had made of life. The years to come, even now beginning to weigh down. To crush, they lost concreteness, diffused into formless melancholy. The tranquil murmur of conversation issued from the bricked azotea where Don Julian and Carmen were busy puttering away among the rose pots.
Papa, and when will be the long table be set?
I don't know yet. Alfredo is not very specific, but Esperanza wants it to be next month.
Why is he not a bit more decided? I wonder. He is over 30, is he not? And still a bachelor. Esperanza must be tired waiting.
He does not seem to be in a hurry either.
How can a woman be in a hurry if the man does not hurry? Papa, do you remember how much in love he was?
In love? With whom?
With Esperanza, of course. He has had not a love affair that I know of. What I mean is that, at the beginning, he was enthusiastic. Flowers, serenades, notes, and things like that.
I suppose long engaged people are like that. Warm now, cool tomorrow. I think they are oftener cool than warm.
I suppose.
The very fact that an engagement has been allowed to prolong itself argues a certain placidity of the environment or affection on the part of either or both. That phase you were speaking of the natural enough for the beginning. Besides, that, as I see it, was Alfredo last race with his giving youth.
Carmen laughed aloud at the thought of her brother's perfect physical repose, almost indolence, disturbed in the role suggested by her father's figurative language.
A last spurt of hot blood.
Few certainly would credit Alfredo Salazar with hot blood. Even his friends had admissively diagnosed his blood as cool and thin, citing incontrovertible evidence. Tall and slender, he moved with an indolent ease that verged on grace. Under straight recalcitrant hair, a thin face with a satisfying breadth of forehead, slow, dreamer's eyes, and astonishing freshness of lips. Indeed, Alfredo Salazar's appearance betokened little of exuberant masculinity, rather a poet with a wayward humor, a fastidious artist with keen, clear brain. The gravel road narrowed as it slanted up to the house, whose wide, open porches he could glimpse through the hay-shriveled tunnelings in the Martinez yard. 6 weeks ago, that house meant nothing to him save that it was the Martinez house, rented and occupied by Judge Del Val and his family. 6 weeks ago, Julia Salas meant nothing to him. He did not even know her name. But now,
Yes?
Is Judge Del Valle there? Ah, ya se conocen?
That is nothing. Each time I was about to correct you, but I remember a similar experience I had once before. The man named Manalo, I keep calling him Manalo.
Is Judge Del Valle there?
Oh yes, please come in.
Thank you.
Oh, the best thing to do under circumstances I have found out is to pretend not to hear and let other person to find what his mistake and without help.
As you did this time, still, You look amused every time
I was thinking of Mr. Manalam.
Don Julian and his uncommunicative friend, the judge, were absorbed in a game. The young man had tired of playing appreciative spectator and desultory conversationalist, so he and Julia Salas had gone off to chat in the vine-covered porch. Sunday mornings after Mass, father and son would go crunching up the gravel road to the house on the hill. The judge's wife invariably offered them beer, which Don Julian enjoyed and Alfredo did not. After a half hour or so, the chessboard would be brought out, then Alfredo and Julia Salas would go out to the porch to chat. She sat in the low hammock, and he in a rocking chair, and the hours, warm, quiet March hours, sped by. He enjoyed talking with her, and it was evident that she liked his company. Yet, what feeling there was between them was so undisturbed that it seemed a matter of course.
By the way, I am Alfredo Salazar.
And I'm Julia Salas.
She dropped the topic. Esperanza was not prone to indulge in unprovoked jealousies. She was a believer in the regenerative virtue of institutions, in their power to regulate feeling as well as conduct. If the man were married, why? Of course, love his wife. If he were engaged, he could not possibly love another woman. That half-lie told him what he had not admitted openly to himself, that he was giving Julia Salas something which he was not free to give. He realized that, yet something that would not be denied, beckoned imperiously, and he followed on. It was so easy to forget up there, away from the prying eyes of the world, so easy and poignantly sweet. The beloved woman, he standing close to her, the shadows around, enfolding.
No, it's youth's spirit
Are you so old?
and heart's desire. Down there, the road is too broad to trodden by feet, too barren of mystery.
Down there, the ancient Tamil lay down the road, upturned to the star. In the darkness, playful glimmer, while an errant breeze stray from it somewhere, bringing elusive, faraway sounds as of voices in a dream, mystery, so that it's brief.
Nothing some, nothing new.
You know me in a few weeks, so that's mystery.
I could study you all my life and still not find it.
So long?
I should like to.
Just before Holy Week, Don Julian invited the judge and his family to spend Saturday afternoon at Tondo, where he had a coconut plantation and a house on the beach. Carmen also came with her 4 energetic children. She and Doña Adela spent most of the time indoors directing the preparations of the merienda and discussing the likable absurdities of their husbands. After the merienda, Don Julian sauntered off with the judge to show him what a thriving young coconut looked like. They were far down, walking at the edge of the water, indistinctly outlined against the gray of the cut or curving beach. Alfredo left his perch on the bamboo ladder of the house and followed. Here were for her footsteps narrow arch. He laughed at himself for his black canvas footwear, which he removed forthwith and tossed high up on dry sand. There was a breeze from the water. It blew the hair away from her forehead and whipped the tucked-up skirt around her straight, slender figure. In the picture was something of eager freedom as of wings poised in flight. The girl had grace, distinction. Her face was not notably pretty, yet she had a tantalizing charm, all the more compelling because it was an inner quality, an achievement of the spirit. The lure was there, of naturalness, of an alert vitality of mind and body, of a thoughtful, sunny temper, and of a piquant persiveness which is sauce to charm.
I hope you're enjoying this.
Very much. Like home to me.
Afternoon has seemed very short, hasn't it? Then,
This, I think, is the last time we can visit.
last? Why?
Oh, you'll be too busy perhaps.
Do I seem especially industrious to you?
If you are, you never look it.
Not perspiring or breathless. As a busy man ought to be.
but always unhurried, too unhurried, and calm.
I wish that were true.
The golden streamer was withdrawing, shortening until it looked no more than a pool far away at the rim of the world. Stillness, a vibrant quiet that affects the senses as does solemn harmony. A peace that is not contentment but a cessation of tumult when all violence of feeling tones down to the wistful serenity of regret. She turned and looked into his face, in her dark eyes a ghost of sunset sadness. Alfredo Salazar turned to the right, where farther on, the road broadened and entered the heart of the town heart of Chinese stores, sheltered under low-hung roofs. The sight of Esperanza and her mother sedately passing behind Our Lady of Sorrow suddenly destroyed the illusion of continuity and broke up those lines of light into component individuals. The woman that could cause violent commotion in his heart, yet had no place in the completed ordering of his life. Her glance of obstructed devotion fell on him and came to a brief stop. The line kept moving on, wending its circuitous route away from the church and then back again. Along the still, densely shadowed streets, the young women with their rear guard of males loitered and maybe took the longest way home. Toward the end of a row of Chinese stores, he caught up with Julia Salas. The crowd had disappeared into the side streets, leaving Carl real to those who lived farther out. It was past 8, and Esperanza would be expecting him in a little while, yet thought did not hurry him as he said good evening and fell into step with the girl.
I had thinking that all this time that you had gone.
No. My sister asked me to stay until they are ready to go.
Is the judge coming?
Yes. Mr. Salazar, I wish to congratulate you
For what?
for your approaching wedding. I should offer congratulations long before, but you know, my visitor are slow to getting the news.
Our wedding interesting to you?
When they are our friends, yes.
Would you come if I ask you?
When is it going to be?
It's May.
May is the month of happiness, they say.
They say, would you come?
Not.
No reason. I am just asking. Then you will?
If you will ask me,
Then I ask you.
then I'll be there.
The gravel road lay before them. At the road's end, the lighted windows of the house on the hill. There swept over the spirit of Alfredo Salazar a longing so keen that it was a pain, a wish that that house were his, that all the bewilderments of the present were not, and that this woman by his side were his long wedded wife, returning with him to the peace of home.
Julieta, do you ever have to choose something you wanted to do and something you had to do?
No.
Did you ever had to choose between something you wanted to do and something you had to do?
No.
I thought you maybe had that experience. Then you could understand a man who was in such a situation. You're fortunate.
Is this man sure what he should do?
I don't know. Julieta, perhaps not.
Had the final word been said? He wondered. It had, yet a feeble flutter of hope trembled in his mind, though set against that hope were 3 years of engagement, a very near wedding, perfect understanding between the parents, his own conscience, and Esperanza herself, Esperanza waiting, Esperanza no longer young, Esperanza the efficient, the literal-minded, the intensely acquisitive. She was one of those fortunate women who have the gift of uniformly acceptable appearance.
Well, what of this?
She's not married to me. Besides, she should have thought of us. Nani practically brought her up. We never thought she would turn out bad.
You're very positive about her badness.
But do you approve?
Of what?
What she did?
No.
Well,
All I say is that it is not necessarily wicked.
why shouldn't it be? You talk like an immoral man. I did not know that your ideas were like that.
My ideas? The only test I want to apply to conduct is the test of fairness. Am I injuring anybody? No. Then I am right with my conscience. I am right living with a man whom she is not married. that it? May be wrong. And again, it may not.
She has endured us. She was ungrateful.
The trouble with you, Esperanza, is that you are...
Why do you get angry? I do not understand you at all. I think I know why you've been indifferent to me lately. I am not blind or deaf. I see and hear some perhaps are trying to keep from me. Why don't you speak out frankly before it's too late? You need to think not of me and what people will say.
Yes, one tries to be fair according to its lights, but it is hard. But one would like to be fair to oneself first, but it is so easy. One does not dare.
What do you mean? Whatever my shortcomings, no doubt, there are many in your eyes. I have never gone off my way, my place, to find a man.
Esperanza, if you suppose
If you mean you want to take back your word, why did you tell me that you are tired of me?
As Alfredo Salazar leaned against the boat trail to watch the evening settling over the lake, he wondered if Esperanza would attribute any significance to this trip of his. He was supposed to be in Santa Cruz, whether the case of the people of the Philippine Islands versus Belina et al. Had kept him, and there he would have been if Brigida Samoy had not been so important to the defense. He had to find that elusive old woman. That the search was leading him to that particular lake town, which was Julia Sala's home, should not disturb him, and Julie, yet he was disturbed to a degree utterly out of proportion to the prosaicaness of his errand. That inner tumult was no surprise to him. In the last 8 years, he had become used to such occasional storms. He had long realized that he could not forget Julia Salas. Still, he had tried to be content and not to remember too much. The primer of mountains who has knocked down the backbreak, the lonesomeness, and the chill, finds a certain restfulness in the level paths made easy to his feet. He looks up sometimes from the valley where settles the dusk of evening, but he knows he must not heed the radiant beckoning. Maybe, in time, he would cease even to look up. He was not unhappy in his marriage. He felt no rebellion, only the calm of capitulation to what he recognized as irresistible forces of the circumstances and of character. His life had simply ordered itself. No more struggles, no more stirring up of emotions that got the man nowhere. From his capacity of complete detachment, he derived a strange solace. The essential himself, the himself that had its being in the core of his thought, would, he left, always be free and alone. When claims encroached too insistently, as sometimes they did, he retreated into the inner fastness, and from that vantage has saw things and people around him as remote and alien as incidents that did not matter. At such times did Esperanza feel baffled and helpless. He was gentle, even tender, but immeasurably far away beyond her reach. Lights were springing up into life on the shore. That was the town, a little up-tilted town nestling in the dark greenness on the groves. A snub-crusted belfry stood up beside the ancient church. On the outskirts, the evening smudges glowed red through the sinuous mist of the smoke that rose and lost themselves in the purple shadows of the hills. There was a young moon which grew slowly luminous as the coral tints in the sky yielded to the darker blues of evening. The vessel approached the landing quietly, trailing a wake of long golden ripples on the dark water. Peculiar hill inflections came to his ears from the crowd assembled to meet the boat, slow singing cadences characteristic of the Laguna Lake shore speech. From where he stood up, he could not distinguish faces, so he had no way of knowing whether the Presidente was there to meet him or not. Just then a voice shouted. A few inquiries led him to certain little tree-ceilinged street where the young moon wove indistinct figures of light and shadow. In the gardens, the cotton tree threw its angular shadow athwart to the low stone wall, and in the cool, still midnight, the cock's first call rose in tall, soaring jets of sound, color loose. Somehow or other, he had known that he would find her house because she would surely be sitting at the window. Where else before bedtime on a moonlit night? The house was low, and the light in the sala behind her threw her head into unmistakable relief. He sensed rather than saw her start of vivid surprise.
Good afternoon.
What had she lost, or was the lost his? He felt an impersonal curiosity creeping into his gaze. The girl must have noticed, for her cheek darkened in a blush. Gently, was it experimentally? He pressed her hand apparently, but his own felt undisturbed and emotionless. Did she still care? The answer to the question hardly interested him. The young moon had set, and from the uninviting cot, he could see one half of a star-studded sky. So that was all over. Why had he obstinately clung to the dream? So all these years, since when? He had been seeing the light of dead star long extinguished, yet seemingly still in their appointed places in the heaven. An immense sadness as of loss invaded his spirit, a vast homesickness for some immutable refuge of the heart, far away from faded gardens bloom again, and where lived on in unchanging freshness the dear, dead loves of vanished youth.